remember you had a puck hit you in the face and your tooth was through all this crazy stuff, right? Broken shoulders and clavicles and
Lost an eyelid.
Yeah,
I mean, I grew up on a ranch.
Yeah.
And you were taught to be tough, and you had to be tough.
Hey friends, welcome back to the Two Thumbs Up podcast. Dr. Todd here. I got one of my buddies here today, Patrick Perrett. We have been friends for 25 years or so, way back.
Yeah.
Let me think, 2000.
Probably 2000, yeah.
So, it was the BYU Hockey Club, and I was doing the team doc stuff, and you were coaching, and some of those kids still come around here. I see them from time to time.
I talked to a lot of them.
Yes, you still do?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was early on in my career, and you're one of my favorite Canadians. So hockey's been a big part of your life, and we just recently got a hockey club here in Utah, and because we're in the injury world, and there's been injuries I worked with you on, and different things. But what is it? You also tell everybody kind of some of your whole. You ran a lot of businesses. You do a lot of hockey announcing. You're part of the hockey world. You got an amazing family.
Yeah. This podcast is only a half an hour, I think, right?
Well, 30, 40 minutes, whatever we want to do.
No, I'm old, so there's a lot to talk about. But originally from Alberta, Canada, grew up in just a very, very small community, and was a big hockey fan as a kid. And this town was not a hockey town, so I had to learn how to play basketball.
In your town up there?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's a side story.
Whoa!
I've had a really funny story with one of the actors from 90210 about that very town. But anyway, but so just grew up in that small community and loved sports, loved being engaged and doing things. We did a lot of outdoor activities and had the opportunity to live in Japan for a couple years, and then I joined the U.S. military during a moment of lapse of reason,
reasoning, or lack of clarity, or whatever.
Yeah, but got to Europe and then had an opportunity to play on a German team, and I was literally the worst guy in the team, but it got me back into hockey
I didn't know
in the German league, and then bounced around and ended up getting out of the military, spent a couple years back in Canada, then came here. And that's when we met, and I got asked to help with the BYU hockey team. And that kind of started the journey in Utah with sports and
Ice
merchandising.
Cats, man. I remember back then that, and people probably don't believe us, but believe me, but this is true. Back then, BYU football wasn't great, and BYU basketball wasn't great. And that Ice Cat Arena, they'd sell that thing out every game.
Yeah.
It for a while it was like the best ticket in town. And
the administration brought us in and asked us what we were doing, because they said we were one of the top attended BYU sports at the time. One of the top 5 anyway, which is saying something when you have
club
big
team
arenas.
too, right?
Yeah, we were a club team. Which I've always never loved that term, because we had great student athletes that did everything that D1 guys did. But we were. So the administration called us in and said, "Hey, what are you guys doing? Like you're putting 2,200 people in the stands every game, and it was fun,
so fun,
and we were off and on really good, and anyway, that's how we got BYU Cougar on our jersey. Is the administration noticed that we were doing good things, and we had good athletes that were good members of the community, and we had the highest number of academic All-Americans in the nation. We had 9.
That's right, yeah.
That one year, and most of those guys are doctors and lawyers and things now. And anyway, it was just a great experience, and I did that for a little over 5 seasons.
So what is it about hockey? Like, it's kind of I grew up in the Northwest in Oregon, and there was no hockey up there, but hockey's really come a long way in the last number of years. What is it for you? And of course, you have the Canadian connection, it's sort of the national sport up there. But it's what is it you love about hockey? Is it if you were to kind of break it down into, I mean, because you still play.
I do.
And so what is it for you?
Man, that is a deep question. For me, it's, I don't know. It's like generational.
Oh,
And it's for whatever reason, and I don't know that much about my ancestry and if they played, but it's part of it's part of what's Canadian in me.
mm-hmm.
It was something that it was on Saturday nights. I mean, you watched Hockey Night in Canada,
Yeah,
and we listened to Ron McLean and Don Cherry banter back and forth, and it was funny and it was fun, and it was something that had national identity. Canada beat the Russians in '72, and that kind of, I don't know, like every Canadian knew where they were when that happened. And for me, I was an only child until I was 9, and it was, I had every hockey card memorized. You could pull a hockey card out of a box, and I could tell you their stats and who they'd played for and where their hometown was. And I don't know, it was something for me. This tells you how maybe on the spectrum I was as a kid, but I had a tabletop hockey game.
Yeah.
And I would play the entire NHL season by myself, and I kept stats.
Yeah.
So I had 3 pucks. I would play until I couldn't reach the puck anymore with the men, and then I'd switch sides. And however many goals I got, I kept track of points and assists. And that is sad.
Literally, it's in your genetics. It's your DNA. Yeah.
So I was into it, and then wanted to play as a kid. Did
your pops play?
No.
Yeah.
Like my mom and dad got divorced when I was young, so my birth father did. And we were billets when I was a kid for junior hockey team, the Brandon Wheat Kings. And some of those guys made the NHL. So there was that connection too. Like when Ron Chipperfield signed his first pro contract, he got a Corvette.
Yeah.
And he would drive me to school in that Corvette.
Wow. It's like dream.
Yeah. Grade 1, grade 2.
But you're talking about something here that, because it's a rough sport. You got a lot of injuries involved, but you're also, it's like it transcends all of that for you, and you're one of the biggest hockey guys I know. So I really wanted to have it on the show and talk about this because it's something that kind of you've dove in your whole life, and it kind of transcends a lot of things for you. So.
Yeah, it was just always a part of me. And when we moved to Alberta, I had to learn how to play basketball. I mentioned that, and I loved basketball. Played hard. I played high school. I wasn't the best player, but I tried hard, and I'm all about effort. I'm a little physically challenged, but yeah, I loved baseball and softball and just everything. I grew up in a small town, so you played every sport. You played volleyball, and then you went to basketball, and you had badminton, and you did everything, and baseball and softball. So yeah, sports was just always a big part of it. But for something inside of me just loves hockey. I just love it.
So now you also do some announcing and different things, and why go in that direction? What is it kind of more of a hobby for you? Is it
kind of? Like every lousy coach, I think every lousy coach ends up in the booth at some point. That's kind of my philosophy. But they end up on TV. But yeah, so I finished coaching at BYU. I coached high school for 9 years here in the Valley. So I kind of brought in all the kids from all the schools that didn't have their own team to play for, and we had an independent team. Had great teams. I had some really successful kids. And then UVU approached me about starting a team at Utah Valley, and I helped get that program off the ground.
Yeah.
And then I owned the licensing rights for the Utah Grizzlies for many, many years, and so I did all their merchandise.
Yeah.
A lot of their print wear, anyway. And the Grizzlies were a great organization. Had a good mentor there, and anyway, I got asked to. I started doing some stuff for BYU on the TV on KBYU, just a few games here and there, and then I got asked to do baseball, and I did the Orem Owls for the first few seasons.
You did that too. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and after I finished my first baseball game, they were like, "Wow, that went really well. How long you been doing this?" I said, "First game I've ever called in my life."
Yeah.
And it just was a really fun experience, and
yeah.
I try to do my homework and do a good job. And so then I got asked to start doing it for junior hockey, and I've been in the NCDC, the National Collegiate Development Conference, for the last several years, calling games.
Yeah. Radio, I've heard you on the radio.
Yeah, radio, and then on Flow Hockey TV.
What do you think about having Utah have their own?
It's amazing.
Club now, NHL.
It's a sports miracle. I've said this before. There's no. I will say this publicly, but I called it when I first started hearing about Ryan Smith and some of the stuff he was doing. I knew we were going to get a hockey team. He did everything right. He played his cards right. He was very smart. The way he networked into the league, the way he handled himself, was just. And the opportunity was there with the Coyotes franchise struggling, and he just did it right. And it's been super exciting. I think it's exciting for the state. I think for sports fans that are getting into the sport and then coming for the first time.
It's interesting to me because Utah, I think Utah could actually really support an NFL team at some point. They're talking about Major League Baseball here. They've supported the Jazz for years, and I think hockey is the perfect fit right now for a lot of what I see with the fans and what the I think they'll do well here.
Yeah. Utah fans are long suffering, I think. So there's some of that, and they're very loyal. Whether you're blue or you're red. They're very loyal, and
that'd be BYU and Utah, not what's happening today on November.
Oh yes, it is. It's voting day. But or Democrat or Republican. I think you can both enjoy hockey.
Yeah, exactly.
They have a hockey team in DC that seems to do well. But anyway, so I think Utah is a great sports state. It's grown so much, and it's become a lot more diverse. And I think that was the knock on Utah. It was like, people won't go support a rough sport like hockey.
Well, let's talk about that. You talk about rough sport. Because you still play, and I'm amazed at that. You've had the number of injuries that you kind of just work through. You just keep going. So playing hockey and what is it about that? Even working. I mean, I remember you had a puck hit you in the face, and your tooth was through all this crazy stuff, right? Broken shoulders and clavicles and.
Lost an eyelid.
I
grew up on a ranch.
Yeah.
And you were taught to be tough, and you had to be tough. And you love what you do, right? I think any athlete can speak to that. And so you just played through things. I broke my collarbone in a game once, and I didn't want my wife to know, so I went home and went to bed. And then she rolled over on me in the night to kind of welcome, because she was in bed when I got home, and that my collarbone popped up, the fractured part popped up, and I, inhaled sharply. She ran her hand up, and she was like, "What?" I broke my collarbone. But you just live with stuff, and some things as you get to be my age, you wish you would have lived with differently, or taken a little,
or not, maybe not. I don't know.
Better helmet.
But that that you hit on an interesting thing for me. It's like sport. Like that teaches one to be tough, and tough in a way that's like motivating, right? Because there's tough where it's like not motivating, but there's tough for men, I would say, that it's like, no, this is because I know you in business and the things you've done, and there's a drive behind that. So it's interesting, always been interesting how sport, especially the impact sports, I feel like create that. A lot of resilience in people that they're able to. They create success in their life for that. Is that kind of what you see, or the school of hard knocks, right? We've talked about the knocks we've had in business and different things, but
right.
What would you say about that?
Well, I think it starts physically. I think there's people that are physically more gifted than others, and so sport is sometimes easier for them. And then there's the mental side of sport. And becoming mentally tough, and learning how to take criticism, and learning how to evaluate your performance without beating yourself up too much, because no one's perfect, right? You have good games and bad games, and so I use the word athlete loosely, but as an athlete, growing up and trying to get better, and trying to watching what other people do, and increasing your performance. And I grew up before physical training was a big thing.
Right.
It was more based on just how you how you were physically.
You just mentally you just do it.
And so, and then the mental side of the game, as I became a coach, learning how to coach each individual kid. And then I'm not saying that I was great at it, but I learned a lot over the years and realized that I could yell at one kid and he would perform. And the other kid, if I yelled at, it would shut him off.
Down.
And I learned that with my own boys even.
Yeah.
My boys were wired differently. And so, learning the mental approach to the game and how to keep people up in between games. And it's more than just physical.
And so has that translated into even in your business life, right? Like you and I've talked, and we don't have to get into all the details of all the businesses and things we've done, the successes and the losses. And it's almost like, because I played baseball and I played basketball, I played football and growing up, and it did teach me that, no, there are losses. We will take losses, but we never quit. I never quit because, in business, that has assisted me because there's always right hooks coming from everywhere and uppercuts and pucks to the face. And, it's like, well, am I going to quit? And so I admire, we've been friends a long time. I've always admired, your stick-to-itness. Like, you just don't quit. You don't give up. Do you feel like the skills you've learned as a hockey player, hockey coach, announcer has assisted you in your business world? I know it's assisted you with raising your children, but also assisted you in your career.
Yeah,
things you do.
Yes, I think so. I think I've been very entrepreneurial, and I've had some wins and some losses along the way, just like a league game or a tournament or anything like that. And so sometimes I think you have to remember not to get too high and not to get too low. Take your victories, and I think some self-reflection is good, and humility.
Yeah.
I had a friend that used to say, I take great pride in my humility, which is always kind of a joke, but just
yeah, that's kind of an oxymoron. Like, it's a paradox, but it's true. It's like, well, humility is the great teacher.
Yeah, it is, and it usually gets you when you wish it didn't. But I think sport is a great learning platform for life. Teaches us many things, either as a direct participant or as an observer. I mean, I don't watch a lot of sports, but I have over the years, and you just see how your perspective is a little bit different as you get older. And it's watching. I just actually was in Canada this weekend watching two of my niece and nephew play. They both play college basketball up there, and just watching the bench dynamic and watching the body language on the court, and and the being able to, it's like, okay, you can start to read things, and you can kind of see how the game's going to change and how momentum works, and it's as much a mental game as it is a physical game anymore.
It's interesting you bring up momentum. I was talking to Dr. Sterling here, is one of our physical therapists, the lead physical therapist at this office, and we're talking about what happened last week with the Dodgers in the World Series, where you could literally see the tangible momentum of their hitting or their, how they played the game. And when there's a momentum flowing, you see it in hockey, you see it in basketball. And it's interesting to me because there's that as that momentum is there, things just keep happening. And so I kind of correlate, okay, to watch like a guy like Michael Jordan, who's in that zone, or Kobe Bryant, who's in the zone, or a hockey player that's in the zone, that to me, that those same mechanics can be applied to life, can be applied to business, can be applied to relationships, like, and being conscious of who's in the flow, who's out of the flow, and how can I assist that person be in the flow of it all, How have you assisted your athletes in even seeing that?
Well, helping them recognize it.
Yeah,
I think it's much easier to do it for somebody else than it is yourself.
Sometimes. That's probably very true.
And that's why we, try to surround ourselves with good people. to be able to, have your cheerleaders and your raving fans and things like that to kind of help you go, hey, things are good right now. In hockey or in sports, basketball, whatever it is, it's a little bit easier sometimes. And it's sometimes hard to be objective as a coach because you have in your mind the way it should work. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the way it translates onto the field is not the same, and it can be frustrating. And so as I got longer, older and more experienced, and again, I go back now, there's a couple kids that I wish I'd have handled so much differently as a coach. Because I saw the potential in them that I just either never figured out how to get out of them or they just never saw it in themselves.
You talk about those kids that they respond to, like, hey, you call it yelling, hey, whatever. Then you see these kids that they get yelled at and they shut down. I look back at my life and I was one of those kids that got yelled at and got shut down. But I was always envious, actually, of the kids that could take the criticism. And I actually think I learned to not be a wuss, so to speak, because I was kind of like, hey, well, what are you yelling at me, man? Because I played worse when I got yelled at, right? I was that kid. Yeah. And so I love the idea that it's like, hey, okay, well, I'm going to, as a coach or a teacher or a leader, it's like, well, I'm going to handle this differently. I can be direct with this person, but with this person, I'm going to take a different path. It's not always hit it with a hammer. It's like, hey, here's your superpowers and here's I see what you're doing. And is that kind of been your experience with hey,
I think,
even your boys you mentioned.
Yeah,
right?
My boys for sure. But, I grew up a little bit more old school. It was a little bit more physical learning. Sometimes you get
walloped.
The smack upside the head.
I did too, yeah.
Which was good for me. I learned some good lessons by getting tuned up. I had a scout leader. Very first week I was in there, we were acting up. I was excited to be in the group, and we weren't paying attention. We were chirping back and forth and having fun. And he'd told us a couple times,
knock it off.
Yeah. And then next thing I know, I was seeing stars.
Ooh.
And that fixed me. I knew the look. I knew when his tone changed. And
nowadays,
I never crossed.
What if that happened nowadays?
Let's not go there.
But sometimes it's like the good old smack does somebody good.
Yeah,
right?
and I don't want to condone that or anything.
No.
But that worked for me, and I learned a really good lesson at that time. Like, there's a line that you shouldn't cross, and I guess for me, when I kind of learned it on a more practical basis, was in the military. Mm-hmm. And it was, the military kind of worked with the hammer philosophy, and I know why, you know why they did it, because they were trying to teach you to be able to react under duress and make good decisions, but it didn't work for some guys. There was a gentleman in my basic training who was a little bit older and very well respected when we started the journey, and by the time the journey was over, he couldn't tie his own shoes.
Shut him down.
Just shut him down. We dressed him in the morning. I mean, and I'm not joking. We basically got him onto the field every day.
It's interesting how learning the art of working with people and keeping them sort of in the game or keeping them conscious of what's happening, using different methodologies with different people. It's not always the same route, is it?
No.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's been really cool. I mean, I think that's one of the things I think I've learned from you too over the years, just watching you and your successes, is that you're not afraid to just go outside the box a little bit.
Yeah.
And to see things differently. And I think, how far we've come in mental health over the last several years is being able to address some of those mental health issues as being real and taken seriously and not stigmatized. Yeah. I think it's been super helpful, and and having a more holistic approach to people's health and wellness and their performance and business. It's really changed the game, and I think it's complicated it.
Yeah,
I think a lot, because then you bring in some other other things, the woke type things where you have to be very careful.
It's almost like in running, in being a coach, being an athlete, being a business owner, being a parent, it's almost like I've experienced we as a collective are learning that everyone's unique, and to communicate uniquely with everyone. I can communicate with you differently than I could communicate with somebody else. And so learning that art of like, hey, there's a different thing here going on. Patrick's my brother. We can banter, we can do a thing, but this person, I'm going to do it a little bit different, and being conscious of what that looks like. And I think that's, for me, that's a great tool in entrepreneurship. It's a great tool in being a coach. It's a great tool in interacting with, like, I think about this all the time. My 3 kids, right? I think about of course I think about my kids all the time. But it's like, I had this concept years and years ago about how I would love my kids before I had them. And and maybe call me a knucklehead, but I didn't realize how much I love them uniquely. And we talk about more or less. It's not even about more or less. It's about uniqueness. Like, I truly love them uniquely. And, it's like, and if because of that, it's taught me that, hey, I can interact with everyone uniquely and build bridges as opposed to burn them up. Yeah. And so I feel like, you as teaching kids and coaching kids and things you've learned yourself, it really translates into life ups and downs. It's actually super fun. I mean, to do life that way.
Yeah. So, I'd like to have some do-overs for sure.
Oh, amen to that, bro.
I think I'm a little late to the party on realizing that. I think with my kids, I did a lot of things wrong. And I raised my kids. I think I was worried about how we were perceived from the outside, and wanted them to behave and do things a certain way, and this is how we do things in our house, and some of that is dumb.
It's interesting too that the process of raising children happens generally sometimes early in our 20s. And I didn't know, excuse me, but shit from Shinola, right? There's something, there's a process happening here that, we have children early in age when we're supposed to now be the parent. And thank goodness there's a thing called grace, because I've asked my children for grace. Like, hey, I was still today, it's like, hey, who am I and how do I operate? And so, having grace for, I heard a quote that true freedom lies, something like this. True freedom lies in the day you forgive your parents for the things they didn't know, and you extend to them the hand of grace. Because it's like, oh, I see now, and that to me was like, oh, I look back at my parents who I adore, but I'm like, really? But now I'm like, oh, you were just a little bit, learning some things too. So good on you, right?
It's still generational, I think, too. I mean, we grew up in a small town, and so, my grandfather was an awesome guy, but he did things a certain way, and we did things a certain way. And my dad inherited, he got me what is my parents' 50th wedding anniversary this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been there for all of it because I was, just a little kid when my mom and dad got married. And so I kind of seen the whole thing. And then all of a sudden, he gets married and has a child, this boy that, so we kind of learned how to parent. He learned how to parent kind of with somebody already there. You know? And so, we had a great life, and I learned a lot of good things, taught me how to work and how to play and how to do things and stuff like that. But, and so then I parented a lot the same way. But it didn't always work. I didn't always make it work the way it should have. So,
and you even, being a coach and being a parent, it's a couple different methodologies, It's like, well, you got to be conscious to, how to speak to people and how to interact in a unique way with everyone,
Yeah.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, I really, you always been, Patrick and I, there could be 3 or 4 years where we don't even, but then it's like, oh, we're just immediately bros again. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate you, my friend. And, you've taught me a lot too. And from a distance, I see all the things you create, and it's fun to, reminisce about the good old Ice Cat days and the all the, I can think of all those kids, man. And, just the fun times of it all and the excitement of it all, and how, sports in general it's such a beautiful way to experience people and build relationships and learn things from. So yeah,
I think we sometimes take it too seriously.
Oh,
it was one of the things that, as a coach, I tried to make it fun.
mm-hmm.
I mean, there was game time and there was not game time, but I wanted the guys to walk away feeling like they had a good experience and they had fun.
Yeah.
Because that's the stuff that lingers, and sometimes I think sports gets a little bit too serious and the fun gets out of it.
Yeah.
It becomes more of a business, even for kids that are just young. And so,
and the truth of the matter is that the most valuable lessons that I've experienced in my life are from my losses. In sport, everybody wants to win. Well, the reality of life, and for me, in my experience, has been I learned the most when I have a big L by my name, and then I'm like, oh, okay, well, you talk about what'd you say earlier? Is like, I'm proud of having pride for my humility. It's like, well, yeah, thank goodness I have some L's behind my name, because I wouldn't be able to celebrate my successes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get it. So, brother, I love you. I appreciate you. Thanks for coming on the Two
thanks
Thumbs
for
Up.
having me.
Yeah, it's fun to banter around a little bit, and we're excited about what's happened with the hockey and things happen around here. But yeah, thanks for coming on. Good luck to you.
My
Stay
pleasure.
Close. And love to have you back sometime.
Would love to.
Yeah,
anytime.
thanks, man. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching Two Thumbs Up podcast, guys. Patrick, my friend, thank you. Check us out on Spotify. We post things on Instagram and as well as TikTok. So, hey, here's something I hadn't thought of. If you'd love to be a guest on the podcast sometimes, hit us up, message us through Instagram, and we'd love to chat with you. So anyway, take care. We love you. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.